What is the deal with these prices? Today I am making a video about the thing that absolutely no one wants to talk about anymore, and yes, that thing is inflation. Specifically, it's inflation with how it relates to our favorite industry, the guitar and music gear industry. First off, because this is a smaller channel and you may not have heard of me before, my name is Blake Weiland. I'm the host of the Tone Mob podcast. I've been interviewing folks from the guitar world since 2015. I've done literally hundreds of interviews with folks from all over the industry, from builders to artists to people who work in retail. And I've also worked with a lot of companies over the years, helping create products, create things, and just make cool stuff for the guitar industry. Specifically, and most pertinently, I am one of the owners of Stringjoy Guitar Strings based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and we talk about this stuff constantly. All of that to say, I've worked in this industry for almost a decade, and I've talked to a lot of people, and I have friends from just about every corner of the music gear and guitar space, so I'm kind of obsessed with this stuff. As consumers, we know that inflation really sucks, and we've been dealing with it for the last few years at a rate that we haven't seen in a very, very long time, and of course that's going to impact things that we enjoy, like guitars and musical gear. And while it's true musical instrument prices have increased dramatically over the last few years, I have to say, we've been enjoying the opposite of that for a very, very long time. Let me explain. Now, the purpose of this video isn't to be all doom and gloom about inflation, nor is it to make you, feel better about paying more for things that you didn't used to have to pay more for. It's just some numbers and some facts for you to chew on when it comes to, again, our favorite little world here. Let's start with the world that I am most familiar with, and that is, of course, guitar strings. So let's get into that. We've all heard stories of the old bluesmen who would boil their strings to try to get just a little more life out of them, just to get through a couple more gigs, and you're like, wow, those guys must have been really broke and really had a really hard time, and that is true. A lot of them really truly did. But what's not mentioned in that equation is that strings cost the equivalent of $30 to $50. Yeah, $30 to $50 in today's dollars, back when those guys were boiling their strings to get from gig to gig. As wild as that sounds, it's absolutely true. What we're going to do is take a look at some vintage price lists from Guild and from Fender, and then we're going to go over to the Bureau of Labor Statistics inflation calculator and do some quick math. All right, let's see here. We've got a Fender price list from 1961. And here you can see electric Spanish guitar strings for $2.50. $2.50 for regular, good old-fashioned, pure nickel, I might add, electric guitar strings. So let's go over to the good old inflation calculator. We'll go to 1961 to 2024. $2.50 has the same buying power as $25.87 for pure nickels. Now, I know it exists somewhere on this planet where guitar strings are $25, but I think we can all agree that the normal price for electric guitar strings that are just regular, normal electric guitar strings is not $25. It's not even close. Now, I said we were going to take a look at some Guild strings, so yes, we're going to look at this Guild Guitars price list from 1959, and we're going to dive in and see what it looks like from them. So here we go. We've got the Guild strings in set. The light gauge set is $3. 1959, the Guild normal light gauge electric guitar strings are $3. Let's go over and take a look what the inflation calculator has to say about that. So we'll take it down to 1959. We'll adjust it to $3 and hit calculate. Here we go. Same buying power as $31.91. These are not flat wounds, these are not bass strings, they are pure nickels because that was the thing at the time, but these are regular, standard issue electric guitar strings made by a major brand. $31.91. $291. And if you go and look at anything else, the price only goes up from there. This is the cheapest string you could buy from Guild in 1959. Again, I think we can all agree if 25 is basically almost impossible to find, a $31 regular, even pure nickel electric guitar string is insanely rare if it exists at all in the marketplace here in 2024. Now, the reasons for this are wide-ranging, but a large one is that manufacturing has gotten a lot better since then. We're making better products now at better prices in larger quantities than was ever even imagined in 1959. So that has a lot to do with how things have been kept so low for so long. But still, talking about something that's maybe on average $12 these days that used to be the equivalent of 30 to 50 bucks, that's pretty wild. It's pretty crazy to think that. That really is the world that guitar players were living in back then. If we move to another sector of the market that I'm extremely passionate about, that would be the effects pedal market. Now, this one is kind of shocking. You're gonna freak out about this, or at least I did. So today we're gonna look at an MXR flanger from, I believe this ad's from around 1976. There's no date on it, but it very much sounds like an introductory ad, like this was the first time this product had ever hit the market. And 1976 is when the MXR flanger first dropped. So check this out. Check this out. This is wild. Keep in mind, this is somewhere between 1976 and 1985 because that's when the flanger dropped. Probably closer to 76, so we're going to go with 76. Look at this. This is wild. All right, check this out. MXR presents live flanging. Flanging was exclusively regulated to the world of studios and tape machines up until flanger pedals started getting popular, and this was MXR's attempt. I think they might have been one of the first to do it. I'm not 100% there. Regardless, look at this. We're going to zoom in. It's got all the marketing jargon here, which is cool. 1976, this pedal was $199.95. In 1976. All right, let's go see what that looks like on the good old inflation calculator. All right, for the MXR flanger, we're going to go $199.95, and we're just going to pretend it was 76 for sure, but it's somewhere in that ballpark. 1976 to January 2024. Here we go, calculate. That is the equivalent of an $1,100 pedal, $1,109.14 to be exact. Again, there are pedals out there that cost that much, but it's not the norm. That is not what pedals usually cost. Again, manufacturing technology has gotten better, and knowledge about these circuits has definitely proliferated, and there are more people doing it, keeping prices compressed, but not enough to make up for that difference. That is what's wild. We as guitarists have been enjoying under-inflationary prices for a very long time. Let's get into one more thing where you can see that we're just kind of now paying the piper for the first time versus what the rest of the market has had to deal with. All right, now we're going to take a look at a Gibson catalog from 1958. I found this one from the website guitarcompare.com, which has a lot of cool resources on it. The other ones I found via some eBay ads and things like that of listings that were selling the price lists. But this one is guitarcompare.com, and it is the 1958 Gibson catalog and price list. So let's take a look at this. Okay, we're going to scroll through. I want to find the Les Paul because I think that'll be the easiest one to compare to something that we can get nowadays. So we're going to go all the way down here. Let's see. Okay, yeah, the Les Paul right here. Okay, it is $247.50 for the gold top with the P90s. Now, this does not have a case because the cases are sold separately. You can see that there. All right, before we navigate over to Sweetwater and we try to find what a Les Paul Gold Top P90 Gibson would cost these days, we're going to go to our friend, the inflation calculator, and just try to get an expectation for what that might look like. Here we go. So we're at $247.50 in 1958. There we go. Calculate. $2,668.99. So basically about $2,670 in 2024 dollars. All right, let's see what we can find. All right, I went over to Sweetwater and I think I found a pretty close to equivalent guitar. It is a Les Paul standard 1950s, and yes, this is a Gibson one. Let's go ahead and take a look at how much this costs in 2024. All right, we're going to scroll down. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, $27.99. Now keep in mind, this is the caveat here. Yes, it is a little more, but this one comes with a hard case. The other one, you had to buy it separately, which would boost it up to roughly the same ballpark figure, actually slightly more. So yeah, basically that's one area where inflation has kind of just kept pace, is with guitars. Now that's kind of interesting, right? Because guitars, you would think the same technological approach could be applied, and it definitely has in many, many aspects. But at the end of the day, manufacturing a set neck guitar in the United States is a tricky, complicated thing to do. These things don't break down as easily as bolt-ons. There are a lot of reasons why making a set neck guitar from the 1950s until now hasn't changed as drastically as one might expect, which also explains partially why they've essentially kept up with inflation. The truth is, most guitar stuff seemingly hasn't really kept up with inflation, and that might be a difficult pill to swallow, but it just seems to be the reality that we're living in right now. I hope this video was interesting, informative, or at least somehow helpful for you to kind of understand the mechanics of what is going on behind the scenes in this weird industry that we call the guitar industry. And if you need more content, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I truly am, for the first time, really putting a lot of effort into YouTube this year. I'm typically just an audio podcaster, and if you want to hear me talk to people from the guitar industry on my podcast, it's called the Tone Mob Podcast. You can get it wherever you download your podcasts at Apple, Spotify, and here on YouTube as well. There's the video versions and the audio versions here, but if you're an audio-only person the way I am, I would just go over to your normal podcasting spaces and listen there. There are about 400 episodes for you to enjoy, and there's more on Patreon if you want to support the show moving forward. Thank you so much for your time. Please like and comment. Again, all that stuff helps on this weird YouTube platform. I'm not used to doing it. I hope you guys like this. I'm hungry. I gotta go.